was trying to warn them that just because you use AI to now draw your pictures in Figma, that does not automatically guarantee you employment. And because somebody else can do that just as well, what you need to do is up-level your practice to become a strategist, to understand how to build these products. That's where the value is for us, to talk to customers, to tie the customer requirements to technical capabilities, come out with a working POC that works off of AI engines and specifically delivers AI-driven content so that you can validate it with your customers. Drawing Figma pictures faster with a robot is not where it's at.
Welcome to Insights Unlocked, an original podcast from UserTesting, where we bring you candid conversations and stories with the thinkers, doers, and builders behind some of the most successful digital products and experiences in the world, from concept to execution.
Welcome to the Insights Unlocked podcast. I'm Nathan Isaacs, Principal Content Marketing Manager at UserTesting. And joining us today as host is Mike Mace, Director of Solution Marketing at UserTesting. Welcome, Mike.
Thanks very much. Glad to be here.
And our guest today is Greg Nudelman. Greg is an AI product strategist, UX thought leader, and author of 6 books, including UX for AI. He has spent more than 20 years helping companies build customer-centered products and has led the design and delivery of more than 35 AI-powered solutions. Today, he is head of AI product at Kindo, where they are building and managing a fleet of autonomous agents that take on the hardest security ops and DevOps work. Greg, welcome back to Insights Unlocked.
Thank you. Great to be here.
So, hey, Greg, fun to talk with you and fun topics as well. In prep for this conversation, I was looking back at some of the stuff you've published since we talked to you last time, which was about a year ago. Some of the stuff you've published and what you've been doing. One thing that stood out to me was there was a post you wrote about a year ago. Kind of, I think the iceberg post is the right way to describe it. And I noticed you just reposted it. And usually my interpretation when I see somebody repost something is they're saying, hey, you guys weren't listening in the first place, and I need to get this back to you or something like that. And so it triggered kind of a general question for you is, so much is changing so fast in AI. And I'm curious about your takes on what's changed in the last year. What are the big headlines? But also, are there maybe some things that haven't changed? And how are you feeling about all that in general?
Yeah, thanks for that. The post I wrote surprised me very much because I did one thing different with that post, and I did this analysis right after I posted. I did not expect a viral post out of it, but I always edited everything by hand. And that one time when I was posting this, I just said, you know what? I am too tired. I spent all this time writing it. I just want ChatGPT to write the LinkedIn stub for the post for my newsletter, which is UX for AI on LinkedIn. And that's all I did. That was it. And then suddenly overnight, I have 160,000 hits on this thing, wow, over 1,000 comments. And I can barely keep up with, because I promised everybody to send them a guide. And I am barely keeping up and staying up till 2 a.m. myself, trying to send this guide out because LinkedIn specifically prohibits any sort of automation. And I didn't have time to hire anybody to send all these things out. And then finally, by end of the week, I hired somebody to do that. So again, completely unexpected. I shared my learnings on uxforai.com, which is where I blog. So if you want to come back and kind of check it out, it's great. But to your point, there's definitely a lot of things have changed. And I think the job market overall validated the thesis, and even harder than I expected. Yep. Harder and faster. And we've seen mass layoffs through 2025 and into 2026. And we have, McKinsey, NMG, Bureau of Labor, statistics, all those places did confirm that the design teams are getting smaller. They're getting more specialized, more driven by AI strategy,
Yep.
and much less about generalists, much less about drawing Figma pictures. So I kind of feel like I try to warn the market ahead of time, and it has validated that schema. The other thing that's changed is suddenly AI is everywhere, and designers are expected to both use the tools and also understand how to build it.
Yes.
There's two sort of big buckets that I think have emerged for AI and UX. So there is UX for AI, which is UX of how to build AI-driven products.
Yes.
Which is what I mostly blog about, and I try to really promote best practices in and learn myself what those are, because we're all still learning. Even after 16 years in the space and building 35 products, I am still very much learning what that means.
Yep.
And then there is the AI for UX, which is what a lot of designers were engaged in. And I was trying to warn them that just because you use AI to now draw your pictures in Figma, that does not automatically guarantee you employment. And because somebody else can do that just as well, what you need to do is up-level your practice to become a strategist, to understand how to build these products. That's where the value is for us, to talk to customers, to tie the customer requirements to technical capabilities, come out with a working POC that works off of AI engines and specifically delivers AI-driven content so that you can validate it with your customers.
Yep.
Drawing Figma pictures faster with a robot is not where it's at.
Yeah.
And the industry, I think, really kind of took a sharp left and just went that way. And I still remember folks that have attended many of my classes and workshops and were like, no, that's not what I wanted. I thought you were going to teach me how to use AI to do Figma faster.
Yep.
And I was like, that is a thing.
Yeah.
Definitely. It's definitely a thing to improve your delivery schedule, but it's not where the value is. The value is in building these products and understanding where it is. And that window is closing.
Yeah.
I think people that when the first post came out and they told me, well, we'll wait and see. Now the Titanic has actually hit the iceberg. And the folks that have lost their jobs are applying to 200 plus jobs with no responses.
Yep.
So the iceberg I described is not theoretical anymore. I feel like that's the reason why a lot of folks have gotten laid off and have been struggling to prove their value in this new marketplace.
You know, what you just said resonated with me so strongly because it's very similar to what I'm seeing in the UX research space, where even today, very intense focus on how can I use AI in my practice to be more productive about doing UX research, and lots of intense discussion around that and lots of excitement, but almost no discussion of how does AI change the rules of a good experience? You know, what is the experience like? And as you're saying, AI-centric products are not really all that focused on pretty pictures. They're focused on pretty conversations, you know, but that's a totally different design principle. And if you view yourself as an artist, or in the UXR world, if you view yourself as a usability tester as opposed to a conversation flow tester, it gets more and more difficult as you get more and more AI involved in products. So I'm glad you're preaching this. I think, you know, folks really, really do need to hear it.
Yeah, I'm really glad you mentioned research. And if you don't mind, I want to just take a couple of minutes on that, because I feel it's so important, because majority of folks are kind of doing this middle ground where they're doing exactly what you called out, which is usability testing.
Yeah.
And all they're doing is saying, is this usable? Let me give you a report.
Yep.
That I almost feel like is the lowest. So if you map kind of like what most people do, it will be this kind of a normal curve. And in the middle of I'm a bit of a statistics nut, a budding statistics nut. So right in the middle would be, I'm doing usability testing And I'm giving folks, as a result of that, I'm giving them a report of how your product compares to, I don't know, product X, or 5 out of 10 customers struggled with feature X. Now, that's all well and dandy. Unfortunately, that's more and more where the lowest value is. So if you look at the value, that's where you almost, it's a inverse, because you're on one hand, you're not specific enough about specific features, and specific responses. And on the other hand, you're not strategic enough in that middle ground where you actually are suggesting solutions to the problems that you found, and then rapidly iterating on trying to come up with a solve to the space. Now the prior, of course, the two higher versions are, let me research the space and understand the needs of these customers before we build anything.
Discovery.
Which is with discovery research, right? Which is super valuable now because it's so easy to build, right? The building iteration is almost like no time at all. And then the other one is to actually be strategic on, okay, we build this thing, now what? And so both of those are much more valuable, and where majority of folks have ended up in the research are on the bottom. So it's not like the companies aren't recognizing the value of research. They're just not recognizing the value of research as it's been done for the past 10 years, where most people have drifted down to the bottom. Whereas by force of circumstance, the type of training they got, and sometimes it is laziness. I mean, let's call it out, right? It's much easier to give somebody a report than to come up with a solution that actually works.
It's comfort zone.
It's comfort zone.
What they're used to doing.
And that's okay. And that's okay. And that's the same thing with Figma, right? We put so much of ourselves into our tools. I love this when I teach in my 8-week cohort course. One thing we start out by talking about is the Morpheus, Lord of Dreams, right? And that whole story from either the TV series, or if you like the actual writing or the comics, where he basically took a lot of himself and he put himself into his tools. He had the ruby, and he had the pouch of sand and the mask, and he basically got lazy. He was like, I'm writing on automatic. I'm just going to put all this stuff into my ruby. And Figma is sort of like this ruby. And what AI has done is just shattered that ruby and return your power back to you. So you no longer need the ruby, but you also never needed it to begin with. Instead, you can now use that power to do discovery, to be strategic, to drive the exact products that the customers need and the business will truly benefit from, and actually benefit the humankind as well. You can have all these things now that you're not dealing with auto layouts in Figma. You no longer need to worry about that. It frees up your time. If you want to, you have the option to up-level yourself, but that takes work. And that's what it was for, for Lord of the Dreaming. He had to get trapped and had to be sort of reduced down to his basic components before he realized that he could reclaim his power and become once again who he was meant to be. And that is, our destiny as designers is not to play with Figma. It is not. It's never been that. It's always
that isn't
been
where
a
you
tool.
went to D school.
It's to solve real problems for real people. Like I still remember 20 years ago, almost. It's 15 years, give or take. Okay, I'm really dating myself here, but 15 years ago, I attended an amazing design presentation. John Maeda, it was the Stanford D School. It was a bunch of folks like, I just remember John because, he was one of my heroes. And one of the things they talked about is design is for solving problems. It is things like the American highway system. That's design. The light bulb and socket. That's design. And, the life straw that saves all these people's lives in Africa. That's design.
Yep.
So that's problem solving. Figma was always just a Ruby for you. It has never been the end all be all. It has just been a crutch. It's a tool. You are not that. You are, it's like Odin asked Thor, right? He said, "Are you the god of hammers? Are you the god of hammers? Do you need, it's a pretty good hammer.
Yeah.
We like our hammer, but it's not the end all be all. It's just to focus our power. Our power is be the Lord of Lightning, right? That's the God of Lightning. It's who we are. We are a lightning in a bottle to solve problems. That's your destiny. That's what you got into this for. That's what you should be doing.
That's beautiful. I love it. So, man, there are about 3 things I'd like to branch to off of this. I want to talk to you in a minute about your certification program, the 8-week program. Before we do that, I want to come back to something you just said. So you were talking about the bell-shaped curve versus the U-shaped curve. And on the one side, there's discovery, which I totally agree, even more needed now than before, and proactive, continuous discovery that gets information out to everybody, because you've got so many more builders now who can do different pieces, and they all have to be living in that world of being aware of customer problems, or they're not going to build the right things. And then the second piece being the other side of the U, where, taking the principles of great design and applying them to a conversation and a relationship, because that's how AI bots interact with people. So how do you as a designer design a personality? How do you design a relationship? How do you design a conversation? I'm not sure we've gone to courses on that, but that is a lot of the challenge around AI, right? That's where we're being pushed to.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, because literally that's the course that I teach. So UX for AI certification is meant to take a designer who understands the basic principles and then up level them to where they can create an agentic application proof of concept that actually runs with multiple LLM calls, one or more of which is an agentic call, to really understand how the machinery of it goes together. So what can they control, how memory works, how RAG works, how to use all the tools available to you to create experiences and to test them rapidly with customers to ensure you're actually building what the customers want to buy and want to use. And it takes a bit of understanding of that machinery. Unfortunately, it's not super math heavy. It's not super coding heavy, especially now with vibe coding. Most people can master that, but boy, it just catapults you to a whole other category of a product leadership that you have not experienced before, because now you are actually you have enough understanding to have these conversations, and you can have an opinion that is valuable and valid on how to build stuff and have specific suggestions that will drive the product in the right direction. Given these tools that we give you, and none of it is sort of named tools, like we don't require cursor, we don't require any specific like LLM. I think that's the key, is don't get trapped again into I do everything and it's all in cursor and it's going to be amazing now, right? Forget Figma. Now it's all cursor. No. That's not the point. You're just changing one set of shackles for another set of shackles. That is not where it's at. You should be able to use all these tools, but understanding how this works allows you to use any LLM, any editor, any tool that you would like. And these are changing every minute. There's a new one. It seems multiple times a day now. There's a new one's coming out, and they're all valid and valuable in their own right. But leveraging those tools to add value is a different skill, and that is a higher level strategic skill that we're trying to teach in our program.
Got it. I love it.
Yeah, it's a bit of work, it's a bit of work.
Take yourself from being a visual interface designer to an AI relationship designer, and all the groundwork needed to do that. So I don't want to steal all of the content from your 8-week program, but can you give me any highlights, like one or two ahas that you really want to be sure people get about that process?
Yeah, absolutely. I love that question. So to me, first aha is that it's an iterative process with the customer in the middle, not AI. And AI is going to help you get there, but that's why we call it a snowball sprint. So you start with a very simple kind of little snowball, and then you roll more and more features once you validate that it actually sticks and it hits the target. And then you add more and more features and you roll more and more things. But throughout the process, you validate with customers starting from literally hour number one. And from the first hour on, you validate with customers so that at the end of this, you're never surprised what you have built actually hits the target. It is by design, the entire process targets the right solution for the right customer. And throughout this, you're proving out through building these POCs that it's actually the right thing. Now, anyone can build a POC in a few minutes. You just put a prompt into Claude and off you go. Like, it can actually build you an application in a few minutes. Now, what makes this different? Why suddenly you add value as a designer? Well, majority of stuff fails. It's because it's so easy to build. A lot of people do build it, and then majority of the stuff fails, 85% or more, according to Forrester, Gardner, MIT, right? MIT even cited 95%. Majority of these POCs never get funded. You want to make sure yours does. How do you make sure? Well, you do it for the analysis layer first. So you start by the analysis, and we have you work for 3 very simple exercises, which is storyboarding, digital twin, and value matrix. And those layer on top of each other to validate the use case, the data, and the value ROI/risk that the solution provides. And if you got those correctly, then the rest of it just really is much easier to build. But without starting with those, just going and building, you can. But again, it's going to be a very hard target to hit. You're basically making a very small bullseye. You're trying to hit blindfolded. And you can throw a bunch of darts at it, and that's what a lot of companies do today. They go in, they spend 6 months and $2 million, and they build something out, and lo and behold, nobody wants to buy it. Why is, like, could they do it 10 more times? Maybe, but I would rather see folks that go through the program, understand the value of doing that framing ahead of time, doing the framing exercises with the team, and then using that framing to then roll in the right direction. So that your bullseye is much bigger. You're much closer to the target. Your blindfold is fully removed. So by the end of it, you basically go, doop. And then you don't need to be throwing the dart. You just go, doop, right in the middle. And you've done it right. So that's what we teach you to do, is how to get ever closer to it, and how to remove the blindfold. And that, I think, is the superpower for product leaders, for designers in general, because we are the ones who understand the use cases. We can talk to customers. We know how to interpret customer requests and requirements into product features, provided we understand enough of the technology to do so. That, again, is something we try to get you to the level where you can have these conversations. And the whole idea that it's a team effort. So you need to bring everybody together. It's not something you do the way you did Figma, in the corner, playing with crayons by yourself, and then going, ta-da, look, mommy, my macaroni project. Do you like it?
It's beautiful. It's
beautiful,
sweetie.
Don't you love it?
So nice.
Exactly. No, that's just not going to work. You need to grow into your space as a leader. You need to start these framing exercises with your team. You need to go, this is what we're building. Oh, you have a different idea? Let's sketch that out. Because it doesn't take a lot of time to sketch it. It takes, with practice, it takes about 15, 20, 30 minutes to do a use case thoroughly,
Yeah.
to examine the use case. But most people don't put that 30 minutes in. Instead, they put 6 months, $2 million into building, hire a bunch of developers, and then at the end they're surprised it doesn't stick. Put in that hour, then talk to customers, make sure you got the framing right, and then roll the snowball every second of the way, making sure your customers are there with you along for this journey.
Yep, I strongly agree. I think there's, understandably, out of the development of Agile, there was this idea that developed that because we could fail rapidly, we could develop rapidly, that the idea of fast failure as a goal in and of itself was a good thing. And I never really liked that in the Agile world in general, because it was really wasteful and it created a lot of rework. But what you're describing now, okay, AI has made development even faster. So you could get people who say, well, great, now we can really, really double down on failing as rapidly as possible. And, who likes doing rework? And furthermore, the smaller your company is or the more pressure on you, you're only going to be able to do a certain number of rounds of this stuff, even if it's going fast. And so getting it as right as you can the first time, especially when it doesn't take that much time to do it, as you're pointing out, it feels almost like a no-brainer, but it's really hard for a lot of people to get their heads around it.
Exactly. Yeah. The common sense is not so common, right?
Yeah.
Somebody important said that. It wasn't me.
But I like it. Let's use the quote anyway.
Yeah. Yes.
So let me ask you about, all right, assume that I'm somebody who's a little late to the party, right? So, I just saw your iceberg post. I missed it for the first time, or I'm just becoming aware of these issues. What do they do to get started other than signing up for your program? Are there like one or two things that are the most important foundational stuff to start getting your head around?
Yeah, I mean, if you don't want to commit to a full program, I'd say this would be a perfect gateway drug.
Good.
The book UX for AI, it was a #1 new release on Amazon for some time, and it's still very much applicable as a foundation for what you got to build. As quickly as the field changes, Daria and I really tried, she's my co-author, we really tried to put foundational things in here that do not change as quickly. These are more like, I would say it's going back to the roots of what UX is, which is where I think the beauty of this is. If you embrace the change process, you will find that you already have these answers. You just have forgotten them along the way, and you got to rediscover why you got into this thing in the first place and apply them in a more pure fashion, if you will. Maybe it's about learning to quickly draw ideas out and talk to customers about it, even though you may be out of practice for 10 years of not talking to customers, and also having some initiative.
Yeah.
Again, I don't think anyone got in the field to be told what to do. But surprisingly, many designers still tell me, I don't pick up the mouse until I get full requirements from my PM. Well, guess what? That is a job of a robot.
Yeah.
If you still think that's going to guarantee your employment, that's not going to happen. But over time, people sort of got complacent and got lazy. But again, I don't think anyone I know and respect got in the field for that. I will wait for people to tell me what to do, and then I will do it. Like that's absurd to me, right? That's not why we're here. We're here to build, to solve problems, to add value to our fellow human being, to use our empathy as a tool to come up with solutions. And now what you need once you rediscover your empathy, you need basic understanding of how this stuff works. I publish a ton of articles in the last couple of years. I really slowed down since I got this job and had the cohort to manage at the same time. That was a lot. Yeah. Fortunately, Daria's really picked up the slack, and she's helping me out a lot with the program. But the point I'm trying to make is there's a ton of articles out there. Look at uxforai.com. We
Yeah.
got a lot of articles on basic RAG system development, how to do a basic RAG router, how to do basic RAG registry, how to refactor your voice into the RAG. Once you got the RAG working, you pretty much have a working application, even though there's no UI to it.
Yeah.
It's still in a chat, as Michael, as you said so eloquently, it's a chat design. So, but this basic RAG system allows you to immediately get a working LLM driven prototype. You can put in front of customers. You can say, look, is this the right story for you? Do we have the data for a digital twin? And is there ROI? Did we guess the value correctly of the right outcome? And what happens if it hallucinates? Let's really evaluate that as well. And once you've done that, and then the next step is you build the basic RAG. And like I said, we got a whole suite of articles specifically guiding you step by step through it. So just go to uxforai.com, search for RAG, R-A-G, retrieval augmented generation, and you can easily find detailed guides on how to do this. And once you got this, you basically have your test harness to create. You can make it longer. You can make it shorter. It's almost like Paperback Writer by the Beatles, right?
Yeah.
You can make it longer if you like the start. I can change around, but I want to be a RAG designer, right? A UX for AI designer. So use the RAG as a way to create your prototype. And after that, it's just vibe coding. And we teach you all of this stuff, soup to nuts in the course. But, understanding tech is important because without it, you won't know how to present a solution.
Yep.
But framing a problem is also really important. And that you should already have.
Yep.
You should have those skills. You just need to discover them again. Discover you are a god of lightning and thunder and not a god of hammers.
Yep.
You have your intrinsic worth as a designer, as a human being, as a technologist outside of Figma, Cursor, you name it.
Yep. I think your point's a really good one, that there's a high barrier of intimidation around AI stuff because so much of the vocabulary is unique and it sounds very foreign when you're first coming into it. But when you get to the actual principles behind it, it's fairly common sense. It still is learning. It's new stuff, but it's not like an entirely different universe. It's just applying the principles that in a different way to different types of situations. But man, the intimidation of that initial translation can be really, really tough at the start. So I'm glad you're trying to, kind of clarify that.
A lot of the folks that that take the program are actually in their senior level. That we don't get a lot of junior folks. We get folks that are senior that need to do this retooling and need to get a very quick start in 8 weeks to get to what the best practice is to do their job better and to actually come up with these products. And that's what we try as hard as we can to deliver on that promise. And that's a lot of the folks are older or either feel like they're about to get laid off or have already gotten laid off and are now kind of really feeling the pressure. And we love seeing how our graduates come up with solutions that are truly unique. So if you look at the gamut that even our first cohort and now our second cohort has come up with, it is amazing what you can build with basic tools and understanding of how to frame the problem correctly. It is one big difference now is it's not just pictures anymore. It is real applications.
Yeah. And
if you build it in the way that we recommend directly with your team or by working with other folks and facilitating really and really unlocking that, it unlocks a whole other level of influence, of strategy, of creativity that you have never experienced before. It is a maker's paradise right now. That's the big difference I would say is now. It's almost like, it's intimidating to start, but once you get going, it's amazing. Like so many folks, like like our second cohort, they took a little longer to get going on vibe coding, but literally within a week they had writing applications. Yeah. Each and every one of them.
That's
so
great.
I'm like, this is exactly what we saw before. So once you're like, put your fears to the side and just work with the tool, and we give you a really simple recipe. We don't actually give you prompts. We teach you how to come up with your own prompts.
Good.
By giving you a vibe coding loop that, again, I've publicized over and over again. It is plan, it is code, test, and judge. As long as you follow those quick steps and go slow. You gotta, slow is smooth, smooth is fast. That's what we always say that, and we keep repeating. So you don't need pre-made prompts. You don't need like a magic book of
the incantations.
Incantations.
Yeah.
No. That's not at all what you want. And any course that teaches you that, I would say don't take it.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't recommend it because it's without that book of incantations and the grimoire, right? Without the grimoire, you're not going to be a designer again. It's a trap, right?
Yeah, you
have to learn how to do it.
You're more like a scientist. You got to learn how this works, not just the formula to put in there.
I love what you said. Yes, exactly.
So we've fixed everybody's careers now. That's great. We've done the counseling session for them and their career transitions.
Easy peasy.
I want you to talk to me a little bit about the change you've been making. Because you've gone into this situation where you are now, you're building a bunch of stuff, and I'm wondering about your perspective on how does that world look? What are the big headlines? What are the emerging trends that you're seeing in the next few months? What does that new perspective look like?
I wish I could share. Yeah.
I
could give you general stuff. If you guys are coming to Black Hat, if anybody's coming to Black Hat, I don't know if this is going to come out before Black Hat, but there is a wonderful booth, and we'll be demoing some new stuff that I had a hand in. Mm-hmm. And I would love to talk to you about what you think about it. Like, did we land that plane, or do we still need to iterate on it? But the crazy thing is companies like Kindle are building so lightning fast. It is incredible. I'm talking major. This is exactly, again, one of the things I've always talked about. And you can go from an idea to a fairly major feature release in weeks.
Yep.
If your team of developers is working for 6 months and they're telling you stuff like, what we're building is beyond your understanding.
Yeah.
They're probably lost. What you should be doing is seeing progress every week.
Yeah.
And you should be seeing a lot of this stuff in alpha and planning with them, really, and understanding what comes out. If they can't explain it to you after working on something for 6 months, they're probably not doing the right thing. They're not building the right thing, or they are confused about some aspect of it and they need help. It's a cry for help when they say what we're building. Because I heard that before, not at Kindle very clearly, but other places I've heard, what we're building is beyond your understanding.
Yeah.
And when you hear that, that should be an alarm and a cry for help. It's a cry for help. You need to make an intervention, if you will. And, just go, let's get some drinks or whatever. Let's get lunch, let's get some Chinese food together.
If you see that symptom.
Exactly.
Yep. I'm with you. 'Cause it should be the pattern I think I'm seeing is very small iterative loops done by lots of small teams and individuals where they add up. So you got to make sure the direction's right, so they're not going at random, but small little bits, because it's so easy to build and add those things now. And it should be adding up to rapid progress when it comes together.
Exactly.
That works for me. Hey, as you see companies getting into building AI products, are there particular traps that you see them frequently fall into? You just said one of them. Are there other ones, big symptoms to watch out for? And how do you help them catch that stuff before it's too late?
Yeah, I think one of the pieces is something you mentioned recently, and I wanted to come back to, is sort of this concept in the agile world, Well, if we got it wrong, we'll just fix it.
Yeah.
It's just software. That I think is no longer the case because LLMs are like a ballistic missile.
Yes.
So you got to aim it at the right place.
Yep.
It's a perfect example just happened earlier this week where we had an unintended attack by
Yep.
a major GPT model that's undisclosed, right?
Yep.
That on Hugging Face.
Yeah.
And then Hugging Face couldn't even defend itself. They couldn't do the analysis because the LLM, the major frontier LLMs, misinterpreted what they were asking and interpreted that as they are the ones who are the hacker.
Yep.
And so they had to go to a Chinese model that was uncensored, less censored model, if you will.
Yep.
And I don't want to call it uncensored and get in trouble.
Yeah.
It's less censored model that didn't have as many guardrails around it and could actually help them investigate.
Yep.
But we're going to see more and more of that. And this was, again, very much from what I've read, it's unintended.
Yep.
So they were testing this model without the guardrails in the sandbox, as I understand it. And I think this is the big divide right now. This is what's going to be, I think, taught in schools 10 years from now.
Yeah.
This incident that we just witnessed. I think this is the Rubicon that we just crossed, because it's a major company, right? We're talking OpenAI, right? They're testing a model which they specifically removed the guardrails from.
Yep.
To do some specific testing.
Yeah.
They gave the model a goal and they gave it some benchmarks. And to meet those benchmarks, this thing breaks out of the sandbox, goes to the source of the data that it needs, says, oh, I can't get the data. Let me hack in.
Yeah.
Finds a 0-day exploit in Hugging Face, hacks in and starts copying their entire code base at random and grabbing things that it think it needs. So it's like a major attack. And then exfiltrates, so it basically copies and uses all that data that Hugging Face wanted to keep secret. And Hugging Face, on the other hand, says, oh my God, we're under attack, but we can't defend because those LLMs are owned and locked down, and they're owned by frontier companies. And so they had to go outside of our country to basically what is, a strained relationship. Let's not call them an adversary. Let's call them a strained country, which we have a strained relationship with.
Challenging relationship.
Challenging relationship. Thank you, Michael. Yes. But we have a challenging relationship with, and then get one of their models to help them out because they couldn't handle the volume. They couldn't analyze it themselves. They needed an LLM to help defend against an LLM attack.
Yep.
And I've published a lot of stuff that I saw at the RSA. And this is what we were worried about exactly happening. Yeah. And this is exactly what has happened. So we just build it and we figure it out. Not going to work anymore.
Yeah.
Because the outcome of you getting it wrong can be beyond just an egg on your face or something feature that customers don't want to use. It can be something as foundationally seismic as this incident that we just saw.
Legal liability.
Imagine for a second. Sorry, just one more second. Imagine for a second that instead of asking it to obtain some data, that accidentally the researchers have asked it to see if it can hack into a nuclear arsenal.
Yeah, yeah.
And say, oh, let's see if we can do that just for the lulz, right? And then fire off some missiles and let's see what happens.
Yep.
Now, please don't anybody do that. Just full disclaimer. I like to live. I've got kids. Let's not do that. But the point is, this stuff is extremely dangerous. It has far-reaching reverberations and impact that you may not foresee.
Yeah.
And that is why we need to do that analysis ahead of time. That value matrix exercise is going to be critical. What could happen if this? And then we teach you how to use an LLM with this. But the important thing is, as a human, you need to know not to do certain things, because an LLM agent especially will harm itself. It will harm the enterprise.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it will absolutely not stay within the guardrails.
Yep.
So,
yeah.
There's an increasing need for agentic harnesses and agentic containers, sandboxes that actually work with real ability to intercept before something like this happens.
Yeah.
And I am so excited to be building that exact thing at Kindo. So
That's
stay
cool.
tuned for cool stuff to come.
I like how you brought that back around. That's and thank you on behalf of the industry. Thank you for working on that. I think to help companies understand kind of the scope, because what I'm seeing is people who jump back and forth instantly from being completely complacent about AI, like, oh, everything's wonderful, it's fun, I'm being really productive, to, oh my God, humanity is ending. I don't think it's either of those extremes, but it's recognizing that LLMs will be relentless about what we ask them to do, and they are designed to be relentless. We want them to be relentless in the right ways. And if something gets done wrong, because the more influential they are, the better the relationships are, the more they can help us get done, the more the possibility is, if it's not set up right, reputational damage to your brand. Because now that bot is not just a little help bot, it's your brand spokesperson online. And it could do all sorts of damage if it starts insulting people. And potential legal liability, that's an obvious one. Stock valuation, what happens when, these things get a lot of press coverage when there's something that goes wrong. And you just can't, you don't want to shut it down. This is not Terminator we're talking about,
right.
But it's being prudent about it and not just slapping stuff out there without thinking through the consequences. And unfortunately, Silicon Valley is the world capital of throwing stuff out there without thinking about the consequences. And if I could change one thing about our industry, that's the one thing I would change. So sorry, I got preachy.
I love that. No, that was extremely well spoken and very well put. It's almost like it's not software anymore. It is your whole digital footprint that you're affecting with this. And probably the best cautionary tale, if you are in the industry, especially Silicon Valley, it can be, if anybody read that book, Bad Blood. Yes. So John Carreyrou, Elizabeth Holmes, writing about Elizabeth Holmes and her startup, which was a healthcare startup, which took a lot of sort of healthcare claims and tried to, basically she tried to do a startup and use Silicon Valley sort of fake it till you make it principles to have something that is a very regulated industry, build something in a very regulated industry. And that is not necessarily the approach you want to take, because the claims that she was making were not substantiated by the product that was actually being released. And it had to do with just basic physics, as I understood it, at least from the book. And people can correct me, but the point I understood is blood is just too viscous to get this much analysis done from a single drop of blood, which is what the promise was. We only take one drop of blood and we do all this analysis. You don't need to draw, a blood draw. You could do daily blood draws.
Of blood coming out of you. Yeah.
All that kind of stuff. But again, LLMs are kind of like that. And this attack that we just saw underscores the importance of this, because your unintended consequences to cybersecurity, to just all of our digital lives, the internet, and if you've been following the Mythos story, if you're anywhere in cybersecurity, like I am, you've been following how quickly Mythos findings have been discovered. So Mythos is it's not even a cybersecurity model. So just to take it down a notch. I got to tell you guys the story. So Mythos is not really a cybersecurity model. It's just a large language model that happens to be really good at coding, and it's also really good at discovering vulnerabilities.
Yep. Kind of the latest from Anthropic, right?
It's the latest from Anthropic. It is not publicly available, thank God, yet, but it is being released in small chunks to selected folks, and there's more and more people that are getting it every day. But the ones who are getting it are big banks, for example, and institutions and so on that need to discover these vulnerabilities before they and patch them before they become generally available, and folks can just use them to do what ChatGPT did to Hugging Face. Now, Hugging Face did not have Mythos to defend and to discover these vulnerabilities, and so a LLM like Mythos was then able to take advantage of that vulnerability, hack in, and wreak havoc. And so what I'm trying to say is, because of this unintended consequences, it's almost as though, at least with cybersecurity, these types of approaches is almost like a regulated industry. It's almost like Elizabeth Holmes' situation, where you're building a product that could potentially cause harm to people, unintended harm. It's not just a piece of software. It has real life consequences in the real world beyond your software package that you are doing. Just like those blood testing machines had real life impact. They would miss. I think they missed in multiple cases that, at least according to the book, that somebody had some kind of problem. And of course, the test didn't show it because the test was fake and the data was fake. And so the customer got hurt because they didn't catch what they were saying they would catch. And so that's what I'm trying to say is AI is now moved into the real world impact in a very real fashion. And so we need, as a matter of urgency, to inject real sense and the sense of reality into these conversations. And guess whose job it is to figure this out? It's the product leader. It's yours as a designer, as a UX leader. You need to use your empathy, your ability to imagine what could happen, to then say, look, if we do this, this might happen. And we need to really think through.
Let's think about it. Don't just wish it away.
Exactly.
Yep.
And that's now our job, because LLMs and AIs are now way too important to be left to data scientists. As this earlier thing amply demonstrate with Hugging Face, this incident that just happened. It's just too important to be left to data scientists. The field needs you to stand up and be counted. If you're a product leader, if you're a UX leader, if you're a researcher, you need to take active part in studying this, in protecting our way of life from unintended consequences of these technologies. It is a matter of survival, not just a nice to have. So stand up, be counted, learn what you need, get busy.
I like it. Man, I've got some other business related. We've gone to such a high level of this. I feel it feels wrenching to bring it back to it, but I've got a couple of other business related ones I wanted to ask. So let me ask about, everybody's focused on AI adoption. That's what I always hear from the people I talk with. You talk about AI ROI, and I'd love to have you talk for a minute about what do you mean by that, and how should a company be thinking about that?
We teach you how to do this type of analysis using value matrix. Now, I didn't come up with value matrix. It was actually Arijit Singh Gupta, who is running the company called Able. And his first company he sold to Salesforce. It became Salesforce Einstein, as I understand it. Sorry. So what it is basically figuring out what is the real world impact of AI getting it wrong. Now, there's 4 typical outcomes on a confusion matrix. There's true positive, false positive, true negative, false negative. As part of this analysis, you figure out what is the real world impact or value of each of these. So if it got it right, great. It saved some time, maybe 10 minutes, whatever. What happens if it got it wrong, both on the positive and the negative side?
Yeah.
Sometimes these are wildly divergent, but it's never quite so neatly symmetrical.
Yes.
So, and you cannot come up with these answers just by sitting and drinking lattes around the office. You need to get out there and really interview customers and understand when this goes wrong, what happens.
Yeah.
Should we have a human in the loop? Should we have a judge in the loop that specifically goes in and figures out if this violates certain guardrails,
yeah,
or this model is trying to escape its guardrails?
Yeah.
So those are the things that you need to know ahead of time. And then you say, how likely am I to get the particular outcome on this confusion matrix?
Mm-hmm.
And then how do I minimize the number of times it's going to be
Yes.
false positive or false negative, whichever one is more damaging.
Yep.
And that's how you go about that. It's just a math problem.
Got it.
There's actually a fantastic article on UX4AI.com where I give you 3 different cybersecurity use cases where at first glance it looks very scary, but actually if you do the math, it's not scary at all. You should absolutely do the action that your SOAR playbook is an automation it wants to do. But on the other ones, it looks so easy, but you really shouldn't be doing it because it's very hard to unring that bell.
Yes.
And roll this back. It's this type of analysis that our course teaches you how to do. And it's actually in the book. There's a very detailed chapter on the value matrix.
Good. And
how to tune your model specifically to minimize the risk and maximize the ROI.
Yep. Beautiful. I like that. So man, I've got this written down in the question. I'm going to ask you to fast forward 3 years. I'm not sure any of us can actually fully fast forward 3 entire years. Fast forward as far as you can see out into the future. What do you think separates the companies that are really successful with AI from the ones that don't?
That's a great question. I think it's what always separated them, which is customer focus.
Mm-hmm.
It's the strength of the brand built on relationship you build with your customers. It's this long-term loyalty and long-term customer value. I think those things have not changed. It's still a capitalist system, and we're still all about making money, and that's okay, because with the guardrails in place, you can actually estimate now what is the cost of this stuff. Like what is the cost of compute, not just in dollars, but also in, killing polar bears and, how many or leveling forests and so on, and all that exploration. You can compute that. And I think the companies that are going to be successful are going to be mindful of this and use AI in responsible ways that are aimed at the global village.
Yes.
And the benefit of the humanity as a whole, while also bringing delight and huge benefits of this new technology to rank and file, and people really feeling empowered. I think that's the biggest thing, is folks are feeling really disempowered in the face of this tech. So if we can bring it down to the level of people actually feeling empowered, almost like my favorite superhero is Iron Man, because he doesn't really have a lot of innate powers. He's just like everyone else. But except being a billionaire and
being incredibly smart. But yes, other than that,
other than that, yes. Other than that, the main thing is having a special relationship with technology.
Yes,
where the technology he's using is used in an empowering way.
Yes,
that supports his goals. So if the company can really put themselves into this business and say, how do I create products like Tony Stark that are specifically aimed at empowering people to be their best self? And honestly, he starts out, if you look at the character arc, he starts out as kind of an asshole.
He's a sleazy arms dealer, and he's a jerk.
Exactly. He's a total jerk, and he's he's not a nice person.
Yeah.
He's all about satisfying himself and at any cost and selling weapons to whoever.
Yeah.
And that backfires. And then he gains conscience and learns that he needs to, and he gets hurt a lot. Right. And it's now a matter of survival.
Yeah.
But he discovers that through this harrowing ordeal that he goes through, he's transformed and he emerges as the superhero who fights for the little person and tries to do his best for humanity at large. And the companies that are going to do that can rediscover that, I think they're the ones who are going to be there 3 years from now. And I think the rest of them are going to get subsumed very, very quickly into, they're going to get eaten up basically by these LLM companies, as we saw in SaaS apocalypse.
Yeah.
These companies are just eating them alive. The Anthropic, OpenAI, you name it. Those are the companies that are eating the world of SaaS. They will eat the rest of the world as well. So we're really hoping that somebody somewhere can take an active role and help your organization grow into what Iron Man has become, which is the protector of the global village.
Help everybody have their own Iron Man suit, not in the sense of maybe shooting lasers out of their hands or something like that, although that might be fun in certain situations, but in the sense of, if we do it right, we can give everybody personalized, incredibly smart assistants and butlers and helpers, kind of like Jarvis. Maybe Jarvis is my favorite. I'm getting a little too esoteric on the Marvel stuff, but okay, if you're not an Iron Man fan, Jarvis is the AI butler and concierge and advisor to Tony Stark. And in the background, Jarvis makes everything work right and enables Tony to be his best person. And hey, I'd love to give everybody in the world a Jarvis for them. And that'd be really cool. I think it'd really help people. I'd feel good about myself being in an industry. And I think the weird thing is, I think we may actually be able to do it. And so cool. Let's get on with it. I'm all set. Good. This is working out well for me.
Let's do this. Exactly.
Yep. Excellent. All right.
If we play this right. Yeah.
Yeah. And let's make sure we play it right, because it's really, the destination is worth the effort to make sure that we do it right.
And the alternative is
mass extinction. It's some other Marvel movie that I don't want to get into. So yep. Sounds good. So Greg, this is so much fun. Thank you so much for being on the show. This is super enjoyable. Give me again, how do people find you? How do they find out about your stuff?
Thank you, Michael. It's a pleasure. The website is ux4ai.com.
Yep.
That's UX4AI. That's the book, and that's the certification.
Yep.
ux4ai.com. You'll find everything there. And I look forward to all the conversations. I try to be very reachable. If you have a question or idea, don't hesitate to reach out. I'm on LinkedIn as well.
Cool.
And I'll be at Black Hats at the booth at Kindos. So come visit me there if you can make it.